I'm Aaron Sagers, and this is Talking Strange. Hey there, spooky nerds, and welcome back to Talking Strange. I'm still Aaron Sagers, and we are back for more paranormal pop culture. So last week, I was talking to some of my cohorts from Paranormal Caught On Camera, which, can you believe it, Travel Channel, HBO Max, Discovery Plus, and we're airing Season 9 right now. Although, for some of us, it feels like Season 8, but they're saying it's Season 9, so we'll take that as reality. And as excited as I am to appear on that show, which airs Sundays at 9 p.m. ET, I'm honored to be on this show, surrounded by so many excellent friends, cohorts, researchers, and bringing back a couple more folks to talk about Caught on Camera and their other exploits. So let me go ahead and bring him in first. Steve Shippy is a director, producer, host. You know him from Haunting in the Heartland, Travel Channel's Shock Docs, Haunting on Hamilton Street 2 and 1, and Haunting on Dice Road, and Haunting in Saginaw, and he's a researcher as well. Steve Shippy. Steve, thanks for coming on with us today, man.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Happy to have you. And she is... well, she's awesome. She's also an old friend of mine and always thrilled to see what she's up to. Of course, we were first introduced to her as a co-host of the A&E hit documentary series Paranormal State, and then was on Chiller's Real Fear, The Truth Behind the Movies and The Truth Behind More Movies. She's a co-host of Paranormal Lockdown, where she spent 72 hours confined to dark, haunted locations, and then was co-host of Portals to Hell with Jack Osborne, and she is a producer as well and is hosting and producing her own investigative series, Travel the Dead, on YouTube, and she's doing that with her best friend and fellow investigator, Heather Taddy, who has also been on the show, Katrina Weidman. Hey, Katrina.
Hi.
Hey. Hi. Thrilled to have you here as
always
well.
good to be back.
Yeah, it's good to see you. It's sometimes doing this show, it's like I see some people, it seems like every weekend doing events and everything, and some people I never get to see in person whatsoever, and you guys are within that category. And Steve, you and I have never even met in person, have we?
No, not yet.
Not yet. We got to make that happen. So, but I want to talk about all the other stuff that you guys are involved in, but, you know, with Caught on Camera, Paranormal Caught on Camera, this show is still trucking after many seasons, and I think definitely part of the appeal is it's fairly inexpensive to make as far as shows go. But from your experiences interacting with fans, or even you guys just looking at the clips, what do you kind of what do you think is the appeal of this series from your perspective, especially because you guys came in, you know, a few seasons ago after it was already in motion? Steve, why don't you start with this?
Sure. I think it's a combination of a lot of things. I think what people enjoy is that, for the most part, the majority of the clips that are sent in, they're kind of everyday folks, so to speak. You know, it's not polished investigators or whatever. And I think that people kind of enjoy seeing what they're capturing, what they're experiencing, and realizing that you don't have to have a ton of gear and a ton of different things to be able to go out and potentially catch something like that. And I think people also kind of like to decide for themselves, you know, kind of what they think about what they're seeing and what they're watching. And I think that they like seeing us kind of, you know, banter and experience it along with them. I think it's a hybrid.
Yeah. Solid answer. I like that. I kind of appreciate that as well. How about you, Katrina?
I think Steve hit it on the head. It's I think there's a better chance for connection that way, you know, and I also think just how it's shot with us being so direct, straight to camera, you know, I mean, they let us be funny. They let us say our real thoughts. And so I think you get a more candid view of us too, which, you know, I know things I'm watching right now, that's certainly what I'm looking for.
Wait, they let you be funny? They never let me be funny. Or maybe I'm just not funny. It could be that.
I don't think I'm very funny, but like They let me curse and they let me throw in a little quip here and there. So,
What is a quip that you've snuck through that's made it to air that you were, if you watch the finished project, that you were especially kind of proud of?
good point. I actually don't know what's made it to air. So, fun fact about me, I don't watch a lot of the things I do. Because it like doesn't compute with me in my head because it was such a different experience filming something. And then when I see someone else's version of like what I lived, I'm like, that's it doesn't always match up for me.
Yeah.
So, and it's also I don't love watching myself because you just think you're like the most annoying person on earth. So I just choose not to do that to myself.
Fair. I mean, I can relate to that insofar as, especially after filming all day on this show, I think even more than other projects I've been on, because it is just so kind of, even though you're with a producer, it's so solitary in a way that you're just listening to yourself drone on all day long. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't need to hear my voice again.
Do you guys feel like you're on a bad date sometimes when you're filming it? Because it's like I can't see them, you know what I mean? And I can't see myself. So and then like they can't always respond to what you're saying. So it just feels like, whoo, dying out here, man. Give me something like
Uh, yeah, yeah. Steve, you respond to that. I'll respond to that. But Steve, what do you think about that?
I suppose it's kind of like if we were doing stand-up comedy without an audience,
yes.
is kind of what it feels like. Because you never know. I mean, you're just saying what you think. You have no idea if they're kind of like on the other side of the production box, if you will, kind of going, you know what I mean? Like you just have no idea what they're thinking. But like Katrina said at best, I mean, they're kind of like, hey, just say what you're gonna say what you want to say, do it how you want to do it. And I think that's what's fun about it. But yeah, you really have no idea what the producers are thinking as you're just kind of ranting about watching a clip.
I, I started on the show in the early days when we would go to the studio where there was sound people, hair and makeup. You have the producer, you have every interns, everybody's on this thing. To this, where I still love doing it because I can also do it from home or I can travel and just bring the gear and whatnot. But what kills me is that I'll be saying something and sometimes I'll get lost in the statement or the thought or whatever, or I wonder if it's just word salad. So then I pause and I'm like, wait, was that anything? Did that make sense? Or when I try a quip or a joke, for me, I'm like, oh yeah, that was a good pun. But then when suddenly there's no one there to respond to, I'm like, wait, was that good? Was that funny? Was that cute? And yeah, so you don't know how it lands. But I have to say that I do watch the show because I enjoy hearing what other people say
Mm.
and it informs me. I like that insight. But also when I'm traveling and I'm traveling with my dog, I throw it on the TV because it seems like it's always on. So I figure sooner or later in a hotel room, if I have to step out of the room, she's gonna hear her dad come on, and he might be talking about Mothman, but she'll hear that voice pipe through eventually. I don't know. That maybe that's just my way of excusing my own narcissism. I don't know. Steve, do you feel like you ever get to be funny on there?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, and also kind of to what you said, I don't mean, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I mean, I get hair and makeup. You guys don't?
I,
I
I
mean,
think I think I look like trash on every episode I've been on because it's like I'm trying to
That's how I feel. Because
get ready with like a baby or something like that, and
right.
I'm just like,
I'm used to like filming in the dark and cinematic and
yeah.
rack focus, and then here you're just like, you know,
and you're a hat guy. I'm a hat guy, but they don't want me to be a hat guy on this show, even though I'm a hat guy.
right.
So I have to. I got kind of. I guess I can change the wardrobe at this point, but they kind of locked me into sort of the professorial look. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I'll go with that. At least I know what I'm wearing on the day-to-day basis without having to think about it. Um, the and Steve, was there a? I asked Katrina this. Has there been a quip that you made, even if you don't know, even if you don't know if it made it to air, but a little quip or a pun or whatever that you said there, you're like, that was kind of funny. I like that one.
I try to throw in a little bit of humor sometimes. I guess I'm kind of maybe known for not being funny, kind of more serious sometimes. Once in a while, I'll be feeling it. I'll try to land a little bit of humor, and then you just hear like a silence, and then you're like, okay. And then they're like, "Is there anything else you'd like to say about this?" And you're like, "No. Let's go on to the next story." So, it's either like they liked it or they didn't. You just don't know.
It is like stand up to an empty room, which is a terrible kind of stand up to do, I think. The
Yeah.
the do you guys prefer so we for everybody out there, we get these packets of the clips, and sometimes they have a little bit more information than other times. Some people research more than others. And do you go in, Katrina, do you go in where you're just like, A, B, C, D, E, F, here's what I think about this clip. Okay, now if you have any questions, ask me. Or do you like to go in with sort of the producer interaction where they're asking you the questions and prompting you?
I like them to ask me questions because I think every clip we get, I mean, you can talk about it like 10 different ways. So I think if they just let me ramble, I'll never get anywhere. Um, so I just let them kind of steer the ship that way. But there are a lot of questions I won't answer. I'll just tell
Mm.
them straight up, I'm not comfortable with that question. I'm not comfortable answering that question. There's clips they send that I won't comment on.
Yeah, I think that's all of us. I think,
Yeah.
Steve, do you find that too? Is there sometimes things where you're just like, I got nothing on this. I'm going to tap out.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely been some like that. Or maybe I'll kind of word my response in kind of a way that maybe they'll kind of weed me out of it.
I will say, and I've said this before, that I do find with this show, especially because compared to some other shows, I've never felt personally pressured by a producer or I've never felt this moment where I was overly concerned about being edited out of context or felt like they were trying to push me into like a demon category. Someone might ask that question, but if I'm like, I'm not gonna go there, they don't. I've never felt pressured. I don't know what your guys' experience are on that one.
I don't think so. Sometimes they'll ask a couple different ways the same question to try to get the answer that I think they're looking for. But they've always been, my experience at least has been they've been really respectful. If I'm like, look, I'm just not, that's not something I'm going to comment on.
Yeah,
Um, or I don't think I have the answer for that. Or one of the things that comes up a lot, I'm like, if I comment on this, it's like a soliloquy, however you say it. It would take me forever to like explain it properly. And I know you guys are looking for short, like there's nothing I can say in a short soundbite that would have that make sense and be like appropriate to answer.
yeah. I
Um,
I have that challenge because I also sometimes monologue. I think, and
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm like I'm not gonna be that super succinct. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah. I mean, I've never been, pressured at all. And I guess kind of how it was explained to me when I first came on board was more or less, you know, we're just going off the word of the individual sending the clip. We're not here to dissect it or debunk it or whatever. So I don't really, I mean, there has been a couple that I just didn't, I just kind of said, hey, I don't have anything for this. That's kind of an extreme case.
Hmm.
But usually if it's something a little strange to me or whatever, I'll just kind of say a few words and just kind of leave it at that. But no, I've never felt pressured or anything. But one thing, Aaron, you did bring up is, do you guys, do a lot of research for it? I got to tell you, like my first season with them, I didn't know what I was getting into. And I did so much unnecessary work. I think it shocked the producer because I had like packets and I'm like going through all this stuff and I'm like, okay, I've got 8 pages for every story. And they're just kind of like, what did you think about this? Oh, cool. Okay, what about this moment? Okay, and moving on. And I'm like, there was 80 time codes. You asked me about 3 of them. Wait, what's going on here? So, within about 4 episodes, I'm like, okay, yeah, I got this. This is a lot funner than I initially thought it was going to be. You know?
Yeah. Do
Yeah.
you, what kind of deep dive do you do, Katrina?
So I think Steve and I were pretty much doing the same thing. Like my first season, it was the same, I was digging a lot, and then I realized that's not really what the show is. And it's funny because every now and again I'll get the comment of like, "Why are you doing that show?" Like, so many of those clips are faked, which I'm like, I'm sure there are people fake things like everywhere, and I'm not specifically talking about the clips that we see sometimes, but just that it's what I like about the show is it's stuff that like we would do on our own anyway. Like if there's a viral clip happening, we would comment on it. We would like, Aaron, if I saw you in person, we would be like, "Did you see this clip?" And then we would start digging into it and being like, "Well, I don't know." So I always look at the show as like, if this is real, what does this mean in our field? Like,
Yeah.
if this is real, how have we approached this before? Or have I experienced this myself before? Because the thing is with like clips, um, unless you're like doing an intake with the people and you're interviewing everybody involved and you're going to go see where they filmed everything, where they had a capture, it's really hard to properly analyze videos and photos because you don't have the full scope of the environment and the equipment they were using. You don't understand the lighting. You don't understand. There's so many things that, and I don't even think it's like people are trying to be nefarious necessarily. I think it's just a lot of times what we see is misidentification. And again, I'm not talking specifically about the show. I'm talking about like, and I'm sure you guys get this too. Like if you're at an event and somebody's like, "Will you take a look at this video or this photo that I have?" And like, we could tell probably pretty obviously, you know what, I actually think that's this because I've seen it so many times. But to the untrained eye, it looks weird to them, you know. So I never view the show as kind of like what you said, Steve, of like our job is to try to figure out if it's real or faked. It's more for me, it's more a thing of if it is real, what does that mean? You know,
Yeah, and it's not like fact or faked, paranormal caught on camera question mark. It's
right?
paranormal caught on camera. So we're starting with like a basis of things. But on that note, like I do think that like you said, Katrina, like I know you. I've known you for a while. If you tell me something happens, even if I wasn't there, there's a level of trust built up where I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
well, I know how Katrina operates. So I'm going to believe you. I'm going to like go on this journey with you. And Steve, I've come to know you and I know how you research and how you investigate that I'm going to give you that uh I'm going to trust you on this. But yeah, we weren't there and we don't know all the conditions, et cetera, et cetera. But I do think, like for me, and I'm curious if you guys feel this way, that what this show has kind of trained me to do, I think in a new way, because we've done the events where people are showing up and asking you to look at this picture or video or whatever. It's really taught me to consider the possibility of like, well, I wasn't there and I don't know everything, so sometimes things really are that good and may actually be true. Or people might be capturing this thing, and since I wasn't there, maybe that is a thing that is taking place. So I try to open up my not just my mind, but the possibility of what people might be capturing out there. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think I've certainly had shows that I've been on where we've captured some incredible stuff that I know is real, and the amount of things I've seen from people online trying to debunk it and how they try to debunk it, I'm just like, that doesn't even make sense. I don't know how you came up with that. But it's so like I feel it because I've been in that position where people try to tell me what I experienced wasn't genuine. And like maybe misidentified. I'll go along with you on that, but
Hmm.
it wasn't faked. So I understand what you're saying. There's a level of open-mindedness I think investigators have to keep regardless if they're looking at clips or not.
Well, Steve, and you kind of said this, and you can respond to this as well, but you were kind of touching on some of the folks out there that are not necessarily I don't want to say not investigators, but maybe sort of the more pedestrian elements. I'm thinking like the ring camera kind of captures. Is that something you like a little bit more because it's not someone that's presenting themselves as a investigator?
Yeah, I like a little bit of all of it because there are some times that we will see a team really capture some cool stuff, but I kind of like the real accidental amateur captures. When people catch something on, like you said, a ring camera, home surveillance camera, or even a birthday. They're just kind of filming, and you see something that's pretty mind blowing. That they don't know how to explain it, and to us, it would be something fantastic to catch during an investigation, but they don't even really understand the scope of it. They just know that it was strange.
What's been a clip for you, and Steve, you start with this. What's been a clip for you throughout your time on this show that was you felt truly weird, sort of came out of left field, but you also thought, huh, I think that one might that one's got me thinking, and I think that one might be legit.
That's a hard one because there's so many.
Yeah,
I feel like I like a lot of the UAP stuff, a lot of the U. I mean, no, I'm gonna call it UFO. Come on, man. You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
that's my
Stop trying to
generation,
make UAP happen.
right? I like a lot of the UFO stuff that we see. I do like. There was something. I think it was maybe. I don't think it was this season, but it was like taking place at a funeral type of event, and there was kind of an easel that was rocking all crazy, and the people were coming up and filming every aspect of it. You could see the legs, you could see every part of it, so you're kind of like, is something maybe in the flowers, like what could be causing this thing to shake and move around this way? And I think some of those really weird, unexpected standout moments, I think, are kind of what I like the most.
Uh, yeah, and I know which one you're talking about. I think it was this season, I want to say, with that funeral wreath, because I don't know if it made it to air. I don't know if this episode has aired yet, but I will say my attempt at humor was this funeral wreath is rocking back and forth so much like it's putting on a show. You might as well call it Aretha Franklin. I don't I don't know if they used that. They probably didn't because that's bad, but I loved it and put a smile on my face. How about you, Katrina? Has there been a clip that you could think of that comes to mind where you're just like, okay, that was weird, that was totally unexpected, but man, I think that one might be legit.
I do you know the Bothy one that we just did in
Yeah,
Scotland? I want to go to that Bothy.
same.
That Bothy made me want to go. So for anybody watching, it's this place in Scotland. These Bothys are like little stopovers for hikers, and they're very old cabins in like the Highlands. And there were some people that have passed through this one particular one who have had some pretty interesting evidence come out of it. And what I thought was interesting, it's such a small, confined quarter that if they were going to have somebody hide, like to like try and trick the camera, there's not a lot of space to do that. Also, the activity didn't seem so crazy where I was just like, impossible. No, no way would that happen. It's things like I've witnessed before on investigations. So it really piqued my interest.
I liked that clip as well, and I don't know if that episode is aired yet. It is this season,
Yeah.
and I'm familiar with that region. Not that Bothy, but I'm familiar with that region in Scotland, and I thought much the same thing. It was also one of these moments, and again, I don't know how much what aired or how much they aired, but there was some supporting video from a whole other guy separate from the investigation that was kind of this hippie stoner dude, totally cool with that, like my kind of person, but he was like in this bothy and having his own experiences and not freaking out, just like, huh, that's rather peculiar. Did you watch that supporting
Yeah.
clip? And
And that was part of what captured me too, because
yeah,
this guy is like a total non-believer. And he was just like, something's happening. And you hear the footsteps. in like the bothy with him, and he's trying to debunk things. He can't debunk things, and that's also not. He doesn't make that type of content. That's not what he's chasing. So I was really curious about that one.
And by and large, a lot of the paranormal shows that we've all worked on and just the genre in general has been very focused on America and hauntings in America, or maybe they'll they'll do the episodes where, I mean, yourself included. I know you went to the Black Monk House, right? You know, jumping across the pond, but for the most part, we're talking about very kind of American type of hauntings or very Judeo-Christian, white-driven hauntings, ideas about ghosts. With this show, working on this show, has it given you an appreciation for the other types of phenomena out there, or even kind of stirring up conversation amongst fans and supporters, audiences about all the other stuff out there? Katrina, have you found that it's led to any kind of conversation about other folklore or types of cultural haunts?
Yeah, I think though, because when I started in the field, I was part of a group that very much dug into all of that, and we were all from different backgrounds, culturally, religiously, and we worked with all sorts of different families from backgrounds. So I think that's always been part of the conversation for the work I've done. But what I like is that there's that ability on the show to talk about it more because um, I think it's important to remember that our belief systems are going to color our experiences.
Hmm. And for sure, I mean, Paranormal State, PRS, I mean, early on, you guys did, even though you were a ghost show, you did like an alien episode.
Yeah.
The, and yet still, classically, this genre is defined, and, whether it's, I mean, it is network driven and studio exec driven. I'm happy saying that it's regimented, it's segmented. It's like this is a ghost show, that's an alien show, that's a Bigfoot show. Never should the three meet, even though in my experiences a lot of times things cross over.
Yes.
So, even though PRS and Paranormal State did that, the genre is still very regimented, which I do like that this kind of stuff this show talks about other stuff. But Steve, what do you think? I mean, from your experiences, have you found people saying like this has kind of gotten me thinking about entities, cryptids, different types of haunts in Malaysia or wherever it may be?
Yeah, I think, for me, I would say I wasn't really I didn't look too much into cryptids, I mean, well, with the exception of one in particular, but that wasn't really my wheelhouse. And I feel like, after watching so many different clips, I think 3 seasons now I've been a part of it, it kind of opens up your eyes a little bit more to cryptids in different countries, especially some of the more obscure things. I think that's kind of pretty fascinating.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, especially like I don't know. Some of the ones, yeah, I was gonna say like, coming out of Malaysia, we get some kind of weird ones out of there. Weird, I say weird, but like interesting. And then it's like Florida and Russia. Uh, they're like the hotbeds of weirdness. Um, what about for you guys? I'm always thinking in terms of things that I've encountered that if I had a camera set up and showed it to the world, or even maybe some footage I actually have, people would be like, I don't know, too good to be true, or not. It's a guy in a suit or whatever. Or you got just someone wearing a sheet walking around. Do you have a story, your own kind of too good to be true, paranormal caught on camera story that if you showed it, even though you know it's legit, even though you can speak to it, other people might be like, nah, just I don't know if I can sign up. That's a little too clear, a little too good, or in focus, or whatever it might be. Does anybody have one? Want to start with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have a few like that, and I think for me, I'm kind of a sucker for audio. Like, even though we can catch some really amazing things on video, but when you have something that's truly intelligent speaking to you, I'm kind of really into that. This last investigation that we did had the DR60, right? Asking certain questions like, why are you still in this house? Steve had said, and then it answered the question very clearly. Then I said, will you ever leave this house? And then it just screams never, perfectly clear. And this is DR60, they can kind of be a little bit garbled, that kind of
Mm,
thing. But I think that to me is always amazing when you can almost carry on a conversation with something that is unseen.
hmm were you filming that, if you can say, were you filming that investigation
I
for a
was.
documentary?
Yep.
Okay. Anything you can tease yet?
Yeah, it's going to be, well, we haven't announced it yet, but it's going to be the third installment of A Haunting on Brockway Street. And the family's been dealing with this for a really long time. So,
Interesting. All right, well, we'll have to talk more about that when that's ready to come out. Katrina, how about yourself? Like that moment, and I suspect, please correct me if I'm wrong. I would suspect that you've captured amazing stuff on camera that even through the course of TV shows has not aired because it didn't fit like the narrative of an episode or something. But or I'm wrong,
Yeah,
but
actually, no, you're right. Seldomly has that happened. There's, it's a weird thing when you're not in control of the edits. One story that I'll tell you about is on Paranormal State. We had a flashlight explode. Like, I mean, this thing melted like a mag light.
mhm.
Where the button is on the mag light
Yeah.
exploded and melted during an EVP session. We all saw it. We were all there. And Heather and I, and this was a couple years ago, Heather and I were like, we have literally not seen a Paranormal State episode since they came out. And we're like, we should sit down and watch one. And so we watched that episode, and she remembered it. I didn't remember it. Like, as far as that they cut it out, I was waiting for that moment to happen because I wanted to see it again. And I was just like, wait, where's the flashlight thing? And she's like, they cut that out. I'm like, why would they cut that out? And she's just like, because what was it? I think on that episode, I'll have to ask her, but I think what she said was, on that particular episode, it was like the first one we shot outside of the pilot. And we had a scientist who was she was like an advisor for the group because we were a college club, and college clubs have to have the teacher advisors. And I think originally they had thought of her role as like, she'll be the dampener to the zany kids, and I think she ended up being too much of a dampener, or like she didn't fit really well with the cast. It was something like that. I'm not really 100% sure what happened there, but from my understanding was she like really, really poo-pooed away the melting mag light, which I'm still kind of like, how do you poo-poo that away? I'm not really sure what happened there. And that they couldn't use the footage, but there was that. There was one time on Paranormal Lockdown, we captured a black mist, and I mean, you can see it for sure, and it's just Nick and Rob in the room. It's caught on Rob's camera, and you see it moving, and then it like just goes away. When we found that, and I remember we were filming Trans Allegheny when we got this note from the network didn't want to use it because they were like, yeah, it's good, but like you can't really see it too well. And we're like, what do you want? like, and we always had this joke after that moment. We always had this joke on Paranormal Lockdown of like, okay, guys, time to prove life after death in 30 minutes or less. Okay.
Yeah. But what is the payoff? It's like everything has to have a payoff too.
Yeah.
And that's right. I mean, with Paranormal State, you weren't a producer on that, right? But like,
Well, that's a whole other story. I was to the end, but
right. Well, but having to push back on Lockdown where you are in a producer role, it's like, wait, no, this is actually
yeah.
good.
Yeah, I wasn't at that time a producer, but that was a really big conversation where like it was the thing of like, you guys don't understand, like capturing something like this is the needle in a haystack. Like
Yeah.
this is what, like, how could you not want this in the final episode? It was so wild to us. But I mean, we, our side was able to convince them of how good it was, and it stayed in the episode.
It is actually something that I do enjoy about Caught on Camera is that I'll look at clips and I'm always curious about what everybody else is going to say, of course, but I'm like, I don't know, that strikes me as more elemental, or I'm like, well, okay, let's talk about fairies. I think like this kind of reminds me of this type of story or whatever. And I have been surprised that I don't know if it's just like enough other people say it or what, but they're willing to kind of go in that direction to be weird or allow the story to evolve from where it started. I mean, I'll tease something. There was a clip about a supposed, I don't know, quote unquote Mothman. Then I don't think they're actually going to go in a Mothman direction because I don't know who else is going to say Mothman on this one. But it seems like they're willing to evolve and change with the story. Have you guys found that working doing this show?
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I think they'll kind of go into a direction sometimes based on, I think, whoever filmed it and what their thoughts are. But if this is what you're asking, I think that when they start to hear all of us kind of chiming in on it, if our consensus seems to line up, I think they'll be more than happy to swing in that direction.
Do you have you noticed that, Katrina? I know you
Yeah,
haven't seen the
I think
final
it goes.
episodes, but
Yeah, I think it goes back to what we were saying at the top is that I mean, the producers on it are very, very cool and just like very willing to let us be us. And if we don't want to answer something, they don't force it. And if we don't think something is a ghost or a demon or whatever, kind of what Steve was saying about like whoever captured the footage, if we disagree with that, we disagree with that, and that it is what it is. And then they'll let us go down that rabbit hole. So I have never. I'm trying to think if there's ever been a moment where I have felt like they wouldn't let me go down a rabbit hole, and I can't recall anything.
yeah, there's the awareness that, well, okay, they may not use your soundbite on that.
You're right.
And then there's also been plenty of times where they pulled clips because it's like, well, actually, this is a documented, I don't know, air show in England instead of like orbs in the, like UFOs in the sky. Um, and just as a side note, Mike Archer, who is in the audience, Steve says he doesn't have a question, but he does use his hashtag Team No Sleep Coffee mug every morning. So
Omnia. That's right.
so there you go. Doing this show, I don't know about you. I do find myself sometimes recycling words and unintentionally recycling phrases. And I was curious, is there any phrases, adjectives that you yourself find yourself using that maybe you're like, I'm willing to retire this after my time on this show? Or maybe this is just me that's repetitive and seems to go back to the word like, I find this compelling or fascinating or intriguing, or even things that where I'm like, I'm trying to say this in a very diplomatic way. I don't know. Anything like that that leaps to your guys' mind?
Interesting. I always say interesting.
Interesting.
You can
Yeah.
go to Portals. For some reason I caught an episode or two of Portals, and I was like, Jesus, if this was a drinking game, I'd be like on the floor in 2 seconds.
And you're an intelligent person who has a very wide vocabulary, and yet then that word just like those words that just keep coming out of your mouth. They're like, wait, damn it, I said it again.
I know. I think it's like my cover for trying not to curse sometimes, because my natural instinct is to curse a lot. And I'm trying to not do that. It doesn't work.
Uh, I mean, it would be a lot more fun if they just did let us actually, if they had like a after dark. Hey, look, we're on HBO Max too. We're on streaming. We can curse, right? Let us
Yeah.
do it. Uh, Steve, how about you? Anything that you find yourself like going back to?
Yeah, I mean, probably like a half a dozen at least, but usually it's like when I was watching this clip, when watching this clip, as I watched this clip, or compelling, 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 compelling.
Oh man. I
And,
feel
and I catch myself doing it per story, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to say it the rest of the time. Two, three, four, all the way through seven. It just kind of lurks its way in there somehow. Just does.
and we're talking about each clip being different, and yet there sometimes you start butting your head up against a wall. It's like, all right, what am I going to say new about these lights in the sky? Even if it's an entirely different clip, even though it might be interesting, you still like, for me, sometimes I'm like, all right, these lights in the sky. What do I think about these lights in the sky? Conversely, if you were going to put something out into the universe or to anyone that watches this show or submits clips for this show, what are some things that you personally would like to retire and maybe not see as much or at all in a submitted clip? A tactic, an approach, whatever it might be, a certain type of whatever. Take it from there. Something you'd be okay retiring from caught on camera. I don't know who wants to take this first. Who's got one?
All right, I'll throw
All
this
right.
out there.
All right.
Number one, hold the camera this way when you're using your phone. Please. That's the one thing. Unless you need to for some reason, if you're looking at something that's
Yeah.
really long. And I've definitely seen enough Bigfoot, I think, personally. Not that I have
Steve,
anything wrong against Bigfoot, but
that's a hot take, my friend. You're done with Bigfoot.
not all the way. Just not as much.
Okay. Okay. Katrina.
Gosh. Um, I honestly don't know. I don't know that I have an answer for this. I have no answer.
I I'm sure as also a producer, there has to be moments where you want like a longer clip, or it's like, why'd you just stop the footage right there? Give me like
Mm.
another couple minutes after the moment, after the money shot.
You know what it is for me? And I always ask them this when we're filming. I'm like, have we interviewed them yet? What did they say? What's their side of the story? I go that direction. I'm always like, tell me exactly what they said. Um, because that's just my natural like curiosity of let me get the meat of the story for me to be able to talk about this in a way that like I feel like I'm doing a good job talking about it, like understanding where they're coming from. Um, so that I think like producer hat, you put that on.
There's also like a little bit of a psychologist hat because with some clips you can pick up on the emotion of people, and I don't think everybody responds to scary things the same way. Like I might laugh even if I'm getting scared. I might get like startled and laugh and chuckle or whatever. That doesn't mean it's not sincere. So you put on that psychologist hat, but the interview part, I most certainly 100% agree that if I could change anything about this show, it'd be allow me to interview these people too, or let
Yeah.
me watch the raw interviews at times
Yes.
because I want to see how they're responding when you're questioning them about this thing and see that look on the face or when they pause or what they chuckle at or like because you we I think we also know that there's times where people it takes them a bit to open up. Like we've picked up all these tips, right?
Yeah, I think it's also like some of them I am just really curious about. Like what actually happened there because that's a really weird clip that we're seeing. And I just want to know that like I go into investigator mode almost of
Yeah.
like, all right, let me interview every single eyewitness to this and like let's start breaking this down.
Yeah. Steve, do you do that as well?
Yeah, there's times that I wish I did have that information. And like Katrina was saying, there are times where I will say kind of, just kind of quickly, I'll say, have you interviewed them? What was their explanation for this, or what was their thoughts, or things of that nature. But I think when a clip really does interest you, like very much, you really do want to kind of dig into all those things and, put that producer's hat on, so to speak.
And I'll note in the comments here, and if you guys have questions, you can register them. I'll note in the comments. Steve Shippy mentioned that filming things in landscape mode as opposed to portrait mode. Good tip, which I wholeheartedly agree with. And yet, that said, a couple seasons ago, it was right around Thanksgiving. I was with some friends and I saw something in the sky that I could not explain, and I've not had a lot of strange sightings of things in the sky. And I was like, that's weird. And I was with some friends that lived there, that knew the area, that, were very familiar with that, lived there all their lives. And I bust out my phone, and what do? I record it in portrait mode. And it made it to the episode because I threw it in there. And I'm like, gosh darn it. Like I fell into my own trap. The whole thing that I say don't do, and then I went and did it. So,
Could
so
be just being caught up in the moment too, right? When you see something that is so, incredible to you that you just want to pull out the phone and instantly just kind of hit record. That could be a reason people do that too, I think sometimes.
Well, it's also like social media a little bit rewiring our brains, We're so
Yeah.
used to like filming like this that now it's switched a little bit. The Let me see here, looking at some other questions. I'll say about this season, any clips this season that you can tease out as far as something that you liked. You mentioned the Aretha Franklin, but anything else? I know there's one that I was just talking about recently. I think it was the last time I filmed a batch of episodes that, maybe there's something that looks a little alien-like. I don't know what it is, crawling around outside of someone's house in California. Um, do you guys know which one I'm talking about?
That's the one I was going to
Oh,
bring up. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously we don't have the clip, so throw it out there. Tell me about that clip and what you felt was interesting. I almost said compelling, and then I said interesting. So what was cool about it?
When watching that clip, what I found compelling was, but I mean, it's just one of those things. I mean, you can't think of anything else but the proverbial alien. I mean, it's just so crazy to say the least. You're looking at like the surveillance camera on the porch. You got this little opening where this 3 foot alien just kind of runs by. It's got the oblong head. It's an alien. That's all I can say.
It's exactly what you expect it to look like. It also has a little welcome sign on that mailbox or whatever. So, but it reminded me of the moment, and I think someone else said this. It reminded me of the moment from the movie Signs, the M. Night Shyamalan movie Signs, where it's in the background of the birthday party.
Right.
But that I like that one too. Katrina, what about you?
about that clip or about any clip?
Any clip that this season, we're wrapping up filming for this season. We still have multiple weeks to go, like a lot of weeks to go, as far as airing. But anything that leaps to mind as far as
The
one you like?
Bothy.
The Bothy, that's right.
Bothy. And then there's another one in England. Oh gosh, I'm trying to remember. It was like it's two guys, they're investigators. Is it like an old lighthouse cabin? Do you know which one I'm talking about? And the guy got hit with something and then they got like a shadow in the doorway.
Oh yeah, I know.
He got
Yeah,
hit with like a puzzle piece.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
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 And these were
That one
guys that
I'm
maybe on
interested
the
in too.
they were on the show previously too, I think.
Okay.
Two older guys, right? Was
Yes.
those ones they were talking about?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think I liked that one as well.
I thought what
Yeah.
was kind of interesting about those guys is I guess they take a series of photos at every location, and that's how they caught some of that.
Yeah. I was curious about that. But the Bothy, I really love the Bothy to like I was literally when we got the clip and I was looking at it, I started looking up Bothys in Scotland and okay, how do I get to these? Like, how do I find this one? How do I stay there for a weekend? I'm really curious about that one.
Yeah.
I think the Bothy one was crazy. Aaron, when you were bringing up, people react differently sometimes, and we got to be psychologists. Look at the Bothy is a perfect example. I mean, you have the one gentleman that's very afraid. Obviously, he gets up and he wants to leave the room, but the other guy's just kind of laughing, because he just doesn't know what else to do because this is really happening in front of his eyes. And laughing usually isn't something that would happen in a moment like that, but I think some people just do that nervously.
I
And I
100%.
find that compelling.
Yeah,
I
yeah. When
I
you
have
were
a
watching
really
that
good
clip.
friend who I had to take her to the ER, and this was maybe within the last 10 years. Her garage door came down on her toe, like split open her toe. It was horrible. We go to the ER with her. She's laughing hysterically like the entire time. And like they're like sewing up her toe and everything the entire time laughing hysterically to the point where the nurses are like, huh. They're like, such an interesting response. And she's just like laughing her head off.
Well, I mean, there's the expression gallows humor. It's people just respond in different ways during times of trauma and just to process it differently or to simply survive that moment. That is such a, in this case, such like this paradigm shift, you know? It's like things are happening that are outside of the world that you have established.
Yeah.
And so you just start feeling a little bit shook, you know? Um, here's a question from the audience that is not caught on camera specific. It's more when you investigate and you're at a point where nothing is happening, what do you guys do to bring up the energy in the area? Maybe to kind of stimulate the activity a little bit. Steve, you look like you got a response.
I do. Ironically, I feel like the best stuff happens when you're not trying, and it drives me crazy. You can have every piece of gear, every camera, you can have trigger objects, you can be at the top of your game. Nothing happens, right? 4 hours go by, you're irritated, you're going to move things to a different part of the room. You grab a sandwich talking to your friend, boom, 20 things happen all at once, you know? So realistically, I feel like if you're not getting what you want, whoever you're with, talk about anything other than the place, the location, the activity. Just talk about anything else. If it wants to get your attention, if it gets irritated, it's not getting attention, that's when it's going to go crazy.
Love that. Katrina?
1000% agree. I don't really think call and response works. I mean, I don't know if I'm putting like a percentage on it, maybe 30% of the time. I think you get better responses when you're just in the environment and going about like embedding yourself into it.
And people are probably sick of me saying this, but I always say be the people at the party you want to talk to. Like if you show up, like if you show up in a location, especially a location that's now become renowned for being haunted and a paranormal hotspot and whatever a ghost is, whatever is going on there. If a bunch of people show up and they're showing up every weeknight, weekend, whatever, booking out the place for several hours and everybody's showing up and interrogating and like, how did you die? Are you in pain? What's going on here? Like I'd be kind of like, if I was a ghost, I'd be like, just F off, man. Just leave me be. Like, same questions, different group. I'm sick of it. Same shit, different day. But if you start a conversation and you're chatty and you're being cool, it's almost like you're inviting in that interaction. Like, hey, I got something to say about that. Let me weigh in. This is my thought on it. I don't know. This is my approach to it.
Your
Yeah.
example of that was perfect, by the way. Just, those questions you were just kind of doing right there. That's great.
Oh man, yeah, like again, I'm like, Katrina said earlier, it's sort of like being on a bad date. I think sometimes with some like the way some people approach things, I'm like, who would want to talk to you when you roll into a place and right away you're going like this hardcore, like dark stuff, like showing up at a bar and be like, "Hey, how you doing? How did you die?" Like, I'm like, "What the fuck?" Like, whoa, man! Like, ease off, dude. Like, seriously. Um,
I got a question if I'm allowed to ask a question.
you're allowed to ask anything,
Okay.
man.
I would love to ask both of you this. What is the craziest thing that's happened while you were recording caught on camera that happened in your space as you're trying to record?
That's a
Oh.
good question.
I've
Katrina,
got
do
one.
you have a response?
I mean, nothing ghostly, only like my dog barking or, something like that, but nothing. Actually, what's weird? I just recorded last week. I was the only one home. And, I turn off the AC, make sure everything's turned off so you don't get noise. And the sink in the kitchen started running, but I was the only one home. So I don't know what caused
Yeah.
that. I forgot about that, huh?
I mean, I live in New York City, and then during the times I've filmed this show, I've covered a lot of ground. I've been in because there's been times where I've traveled with just the backdrop, all the stuff. Uh, I've covered like filmed in multiple locations, but most of the time I'm in New York City. It gets busy. I've got neighbors and everything, but I know my space. So I've had random things like smart devices start chiming in on things that should not have been any kind of trigger words or whatever, and that's peculiar. And I'm like, all right, that's odd. I've had things fall while I was talking. Um and then there's the more pedestrian things, such as my dog making a lot of noise while she's licking her butt very loudly. But that's not paranormal. That's just gross. But yeah, I've had stuff fall, and I swear sometimes the producers, depending on the producer, I'm like, I swear I'm not making this up, and I'm not trying to get like extra airtime or extra soundbite or whatever. I'm just like, that was fucking weird. Like I've stopped and be like, what was that was weird. So there's like things like that. How about you, man? It seems like you got a good story.
Yeah, well, mine wasn't necessarily paranormal. One was kind of ridiculous, but as far as paranormal goes, last season when I was recording, I could hear footsteps come up the stairs. I was on the second floor of my house at the time, and you could hear the steps come up, the door open, and then the door out, the room I was in, you could hear jiggling on the doorknob, and then finally, I think the producer was like, "Do you need to get that or whatever?" I'm like, "Yeah, just hold on one second." Went out there thinking it was my son. He was still crashed out from video gaming till who knows 6 o'clock in the morning. I went in there and peeked in. He was completely passed out, so nobody else was there. But I think the funniest thing is going back to my origins of Caught on Camera and having like 8 billion papers of research that I didn't need. I'm like trying to nervously thumb through these as the producer's waiting, finally find it, start doing it. And I always burn a candle next to me while recording. So I'm like talking, how compelling it is. And while watching this video, I was compelled, right? And all of a sudden I smell smoke. And I glance over and my notes are on fire.
Oh
So I'm
no.
casually trying to put it out like, yeah, so when watching this clip, and they're like, "Is everything okay?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, just hold on a second." So I had to like put out the fire, and I thought that was pretty amazing.
I This season, at the top of this season, um again, I know my space. I know like I tend to be on what's a great area to be on as far as convenience sake in Brooklyn. When you're suddenly trying to film a TV show, you realize how noisy it is. It's not noisy like normally that I'm noticing, but there was one day where I was setting up. We had scheduled the time slot and everything. So bippity boppity boom, going to sit down. I'm like, all right, everything's set up. We're ready to go because we're now the hair and makeup people and the sound people and all of it, the grips, all of it. And I sit down, and then just as we start to film, there's these very loud jackhammering sounds right outside. And I'm like, surely that's not gonna be a whole thing. And then I go and I'm looking out the window, and Con Ed, the electric company here, it's they've now in short order just destroyed the street. There's a giant hole on the street. There's like a whole and I'm like, oh yeah, we're this is not happening today. And I because I was raised Catholic, and I'm Italian, and I'm constantly feel like guilt ridden or on a guilt trip. I was even like taking video of being like, I don't know guys, like this looks bad. What do you guys think about this? To reschedule the whole shoot. So that kind of thing does happen. And the joys of filming at home, I guess. So, showbiz, guys, right?
Right.
Yeah, with our big budgets. The just I guess a final question here. This is a good one. If you could have a one-time guest commentator on Paranormal Caught on Camera, who would it be? I like that. Who would be a good commentator that we could bring in? One-time guest commentator. I don't know, swing for the fences on this.
Do they have to still be alive, or is this kind of in a fictional world
Mm.
where you could have whatever you want?
Oh, I like this. Yeah, take it. Go with that.
Hunter S. Thompson.
Oh, damn, that's a good response. He would probably be weirder, and what he said would be weirder than whatever phenomena he was commenting on.
Definitely.
That's a good one. No pressure, Katrina. That was a good response.
I know, I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on what clip we're talking about. Like
Hmm.
for cryptids, I would want a John Keel, you
Oh,
know. Um, but something tells me, who would be fun just because, they wouldn't like I just be so curious how they would handle each clip. Would be what is it, Penn and Teller? Who's the one that talks? The one is
Penn
always quiet and
and
one,
Gillette. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
That's a good one. Although they would just call all of it bullshit.
Bullshit. But I would be curious. I mean, it would be like an hour of them just calling bullshit. Like how do you say bullshit so many times but differently?
That's also how to get your show canceled, which is probably why we aren't doing that. I would say probably because I'm a big fan of the Twilight Zone and I unintentionally it does influence sometimes my cadence or my delivery would be Rod Serling. I would be out of a job, or at least for one episode, but I would like the whole like submitted for your approval. A man in Kentucky sees a Mothman in the woods, or it goes really in the direction of like, and this man is also probably drunk and trying to be a TikTok influencer or whatever it might be, like, but I would probably go with that one.
Great
So
answer. I've got a tattoo of him, of Rod Serling, a portrait of him.
really.
Yep. And Edgar Allan Poe and Hitchcock.
Dude, that's a
That's
good
awesome.
trifecta. I know that up there in Binghamton they're doing some Rod Serling days. I think this summer maybe, right? But yeah, that's a good one. I like that. And then just Mike in the chat said Robert Stack, which would also be good. Again, probably put all of us out of a job. Uh, so uh guys, before I let you guys go, tell me what are you working on? How can people follow you? What's up next? Katrina Weidman.
There's a lot actually. So best place to follow me, I'm most active on Instagram on and YouTube on socials. My website has events and appearances updated. So if you're trying to catch me at an event, there's a couple coming up. I believe, oh, we're coming really close to all of them being sold out except for New Jersey Para Unity, which is November 8th. We'll probably have some more to announce for the fall. Television wise, though, I joined the cast of Help My House is Haunted
Oh,
for
cool.
their new season, which will come out in the UK in November. It's the celebrity version. I'm not sure when it's going to be available in the US, but there's always like a little bit of a lag between the two. But so we shot that this year, and then Paranormal Caught On Camera, and then I'm gearing up to film Paranormal Prison, which is through Loudwire on YouTube. And we are filming that in 2 weekends at OSR, and
Oh,
that'll come out in the fall. So I'm really excited about that.
and more episodes of Travel the Dead.
More episodes. Thank you. More episodes of Travel the Dead. We're filming that. So we just started filming season 3. And if you guys haven't seen that yet, that's all on my YouTube channel. It's all free. And those are very just like real investigations by real investigators. No fluff.
Yeah, and you're controlling, you're producing it, you and Taddy, so it's like
Yep.
it's full on unfettered. So,
Yeah, and you were a part of our OSR episode, which was awesome. We loved having you.
and I love doing it. And I don't know if Taddy told you, but like we were back at Mansfield at OSR a month ago,
Oh
had a
yeah.
crazy experience, which we talked about leading up to the Cambria episode when it was wild. It was cool.
At
So,
OSR, you had a wild experience?
yeah.
Oh, what happened?
Heather didn't tell you this?
I don't think she did. No.
Yeah, it was basically like full on saw something following Heather down a cell block. We thought it was an attendee and it was not. And myself, Ben Hansen, Lauren Hellickson, Mike Ricksecker, we all saw this form behind Heather, walking behind her, and it was insane. And I apologize if you're hearing a siren in the background. That's New York City for you, but it was insane. And like I had a weird experience, and then she had a weird experience that was even bigger. So
Oh,
it
whoa.
was cool. It was very cool.
Wait, did
So
you catch it on camera?
we did not catch it on camera.
Nuts.
Dang it. But it was very cool. I don't think if we had caught it, anybody would believe it because it looked like a form walking behind her. Um,
Weird.
all right. And
Oh, I have one
oh
more
yeah.
thing to say. Sorry. And
Nope.
I also have Haunted Coffee that just debuted. So that just came out in May. It's called Possession, and we rest the coffees at haunted locations. It's a dark roast
Ooh,
with
cool.
a lot of chocolatey notes, mellow. And we are resting the next batch at OSR.
Very cool. All
Mhm.
right. We'll have to get some of that. I like
Yeah.
coffee, whether it's haunted or not. So all right. And Steve Shippy.
Well, coffee's an obsession of mine, so I have to look into this.
Yeah, I have to send you one.
So I'll be releasing my 14th documentary this year, and we always do a big red carpet premiere at the Temple Theater in Saginaw. It's a pretty wild time. It holds a couple thousand people. We've been lucky enough to sell it out for 2 nights every night for almost 15 years. So, Hunting on Broadway Street 3 will be coming out in October. And really, other than, obviously being on caught on camera and a few other different things with the network, Patreon is a huge thing for me. I put a lot of time into that. I've been doing that for 5 years. So, um, kind of take a different approach. A lot of people will do like first release on there or like early release, but everything I put on there is exclusively on there. So we've got 5 different series now that we put out there, exclusively 45-minute episodes once a month and some different podcasts and different things. So that's actually a lot of work, believe it or not. That keeps me pretty busy along with all the other things.
Right
So
on.
I'm kind of like Katrina. Instagram is pretty much my jam. That's what I like the most. So you can look me up on there and see some weird stories. I'm obsessed with squirrels and coffee, so you might see a lot of that. That's okay though.
And caffeinated squirrels, like
I was
squirrels
going to ask the
on
same
coffee.
thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes, as a matter of fact, I'll tell you this location that the Brockway location that we're filming at, we were there one day, not even very long ago, maybe a couple weeks ago, and there's a squirrel running through the yard, and I'm like, what is this thing got in its mouth? You know those little weird candy bars that are like fundraisers, world's finest?
Yeah.
It literally has a caramel one in its mouth, and it's running around the yard with a candy bar in its mouth. And if that's not weird enough, like 4 days later, we're out on the deck and we see it go by again with just the wrapper. Like it's so cracked out, it's keeping the wrapper for like any remnants of it. How else would you explain it? It still had the wrapper like 4 days later.
That's amazing.
So,
It's just like tripping balls on like a candy
like
bar. Just like,
cacao, it's just
yeah.
losing its mind.
I do
So,
not say this lightly, but that's nuts. Um, all right. Didn't expect to end on a cracked out squirrel anecdote, but there you have it.
seems fitting.
uh, Katrina Weidman, Steve Shippy, thank you both so very much for chatting today. And also, I must just say, like, I appreciate that you guys are on Caught on Camera. It's so many great voices on this show, and it just contributes to what I think is a very fun show to be on. And honestly, I like it because it's probably the closest I've gotten through all of my journeys in paranormal where I could be kind of me and my nerdy self. It's kind of nice to be able to do that kind of thing. So I enjoy it. So guys, thank you. And for everyone out there, whether you're watching live via Patreon or on Spotify or on YouTube, thanks for checking us out. Paranormal Caught on Camera. New episodes are on Sunday at 9 p.m. on Travel Channel and then dropping on HBO Max and Discovery Plus. I'm Aaron Sagers. This has been Talking Strange. Until next time, be kind, stay spooky, and keep it weird.